All right, so today, in this month's guest interview, I'm joined by my beautiful friend, Marlene. And Marlene is a stress release facilitator and a body awareness coach. And she helps entrepreneurs, freelancers, or employees embody their brilliance and radiate confidence from head to toe so that they deeply thrive in their work. Her unique focus on the nervous system supports her clients in naturally gaining confidence from within, feeling joyful in their own skin, and releasing self-doubt, perfectionism, and stress. She's been supporting people in reconnecting to their bodies and nervous system as a TRE provider. And TRE stands for Tension and Trauma Release Exercises since 2019 and was certified by the Institute for Coaching Mastering in 2021. And welcome to today's interview.
Thank you so much.
Yes, it's so nice to have you here. And today we're going to talk about a topic that I think that's very dear and close to your heart and something that's very central to your work, and that is the nervous system.
Yeah.
And so for those who don't know you, would you mind first sharing your personal journey around how working with the nervous system has helped you? Because I know that you mentioned that you struggle a lot with self-doubt and inner criticism and fear of failure, which I think a lot of people can relate with.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me, and hello to everybody. Such a pleasure to be here. So I always say that I used to be the queen of stress. And when we speak about stress, whatever touches stretch, we actually talk about the nervous system. And so I used to be the queen of stress because I was kind of like, I don't know, I was kind of like a little jumpy creature. I was jumping from one thing to the next all the time, always running. And I had like a whole lot of things always on my plate. My entire day was always completely filled. And I couldn't sit still on my own. I got very, very insecure and bored when I was spending time with myself. So that was always a struggle. And so I was so stressed at some point by the end of my university time, obviously I had a part-time job. I was just writing my bachelor thesis. My relationship crashed and like separated. And throughout that time, I dislocated my jaw joint. I had something that's called craniomandibular dysfunction. So I couldn't open my mouth, basically. I clenched my teeth over the night because of stress. And I clenched it to the point that I couldn't open my mouth anymore. And that's just like one symptom how stress showed up in my life. Later on, I understood that there were so many other signals that my body was sending me, but I wasn't even aware of it. And so after university, I decided after I had finished, I was like, I need to leave Germany. I had to leave everything behind. So I went on a journey, I went traveling. And throughout these travels, I encountered this technique that we're going to talk a little bit about, or that is will be touched today, this TRE, tension and trauma releasing exercises. And my life, I didn't even know by that time, but that was when my life changed, because I started learning about the nervous system. I started learning about how our bodies consistently and all the time communicating with us, how our nervous system is always scanning our surroundings and our body reacts to what our nervous system perceives. So for me, the nervous system has ever since then been such an indicator for when do I feel that I'm in danger? So when is my boundary crossed or something like this? When do I not feel like my authentic self? And hence something needs to change. Or where is it that I can grow? Because whenever our nervous system gets activated, it's either one thing or the other. It's either that it's understood there is a threat, and if the threat is real, you better do something about it. Run, fight, freeze, whatever our typical instincts, or there is no threat, and in which case, which is most of the time the case in nowadays societies, we are not met by physical threats anymore. So in that moment, it's more an opportunity of growth. So my nervous system and my stress, they really have become my strongest allies. I know how my nervous system communicates with me so that I can understand what is actually needed in the moment for me to feel safe and to feel good and to feel expansive and to feel like myself.
I love that. And I think that touches on the next question I have, which is, why is it something that we should care about? Why is it important, and how can we use it in our everyday life? You shared a little bit how you took this knowledge and really applied it to your life, but can you share a little bit about what the nervous system is and how it works, and why is it important?
Yeah, I mean, what is it not? Like for me, by now, you can explain everything through the lens of the nervous system, but to keep it brief and simple, because I want to pick people up where they are. So, firstly, you can imagine the nervous system kind of like a bubble that surrounds us, that is always scanning our surroundings, right? So our nervous system is that thing, and it happens completely naturally. We don't have to do anything for that. It just scans our surroundings to make sure that we are safe, right? So whenever it encounters a threat, it will activate. It will go into an activated state. That's also called the sympathetic mode of the nervous system. Or it understands there is no threat, and in that case, we can relax and we can be grounded, right? So, and also as an addition, I want to say here that whenever we nowadays, in the common sense, talk about the nervous system, what we're actually talking about is the autonomous nervous system. That is the part of the nervous system that controls all the bodily functions that work automatically. So breathing, heart rate, digestion, sometimes body, like the reactive body tightening, and all of these things, that is controlled by that nervous system. So you can see, if you understand, okay, it touches basically everything in our body, that already shows its importance. Now, why is it important to learn more about the nervous system is that a lot of nowadays diseases are rooted in issues with the nervous system, in a hyper-aroused nervous system, in a nervous system that is stuck somewhere. So diseases like headaches, digestive issues, sleep problems, up until really like chronic diseases, they can all be affected by the amount of stress that we experience. And that's nothing new. Like, we know that stress impacts our lives and it impacts our health. What I find so interesting as well is that the nervous system also decides everything. Based on where our nervous system is, we take decisions. We're either confident or shy. Based on where our nervous system is, like, it depends, like it decides kind of what partner we're choosing, which job we're choosing. It's all related to the nervous system, because our nervous system always wants to keep us safe. And if our nervous system is stuck somewhere, that means that it constantly perceives a threat. So it will always move, and our bodies will always react in that threatened way. So our decisions will be taken in that way too. And so the more we learn to ground our nervous system, to regulate our nervous system, and to kind of like not let the nervous system be the driver of our bus, but kind of like the, how do you call the person sitting next to you and you're the one driving, right? The more we do that, the more we are actually feeling more alive. We feel more relaxed. And the thing is, it's only in that place of relaxation, only when our nervous system is in that relaxed state, or the parasympathetic nervous system, our bodies can heal, our minds can heal, our hearts can heal. That's where we regenerate. That's where we can really replenish ourselves and get our energy back.
Okay, got it. So we have, from what I hear, is like there's two important things to understand it. We have the parasympathetic nervous system, which is when we're relaxed, when we nourish ourselves, when we heal ourselves, and then there's the sympathetic nervous system that gets very aroused, and that's the state that we don't want to be in all the time. And so we want to go from the sympathetic into the parasympathetic as much as we can. And so what would be some grounded examples of like when we're aroused, when our sympathetic nervous system is very active, just for people to understand.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and I do want to add here for the ones that are listening or reading and are a bit more advanced in the nervous system language. Of course, this is very simplified. It's more complex than that. But for today's purpose, to explain it, we're just going to use it that way. But yeah, so the first thing I feel is always self-awareness and kind of like understanding where we are, right? So self-awareness meaning, am I like, what is it that I'm currently noticing? What I like doing for that purpose is I always use a scale. We call it in our TRE group, we call it the scale of grounding. And that goes from 1 to 3, we're in that parasympathetic grounded relaxed state. Yeah. 4 to 6, that is when the sympathetic is active. So we experience worry, doubt, anxieties, fear, or on the other hand, irritation, frustration, anger. That's on the other side. That is 4 to 6. 7 is the point of overwhelm. And 8 to 10, that is where our nervous system goes when it cannot cope with the situation anymore. So it goes into a freeze state. This is where depression is. This is also where daydreaming is, dissociation. We're kind of like disconnected from the situation. So I always like using this scale from 1 to 10 to assess where am I in this current moment. So even right now, as we're talking, we can make that assessment, right? Where am I on that scale? And when I tune in, then I can ask myself the question, what is it that I notice that shows me that this is my number? So me, for an instance, I would say I'm about like a 3.5. I notice that I'm in action because I get a little bit out of breath, right? And I'm catching my breath every once in a while. There. But other than that, I feel rather like present. I feel focused. I notice that I'm sitting on the chair. I feel the chair. So those are all signs for being grounded and relaxed. Versus the activation of the breath, that is already a hint of the sympathetic being active. Other signs are, for instance, accelerated heart rate, or cold, warm hand, body temperature changes. All of these things can be signs of a sympathetic nervous system activation, or speed thoughts, being constantly in thoughts, which is what happens most of the time for many of us, to be always thinking and worrying. So all of these things, they show you, where am I? And so self-awareness is that first piece, right? So, and now what do we do when we notice, okay, I'm noticing that I'm at a 4, 5, 6, right? Because ideally, the thing is, if we're noticing that we're already a bit higher, ideally, you create the self-awareness so that you don't even let your nervous system come anymore to a 7. But that's a bit hard at the beginning, you know, when you get used to it, because we go to all the places. It's normal for us all to go to all the places. But so what do we do when we notice, okay, I'm at a 5, I'm at a 6, maybe even 7, 8, 9, 10. What do we do then? So there are different things that we can use. All of them, they're called grounding techniques. That's kind of like the frame for that. And some grounding techniques that work really well include the body. So we can do something as easy as tapping the body and notice what that does to us, but really take time with the tapping. Or tapping your neck is a very powerful exercise to regulate. What I love using when I'm in the freeze mode is having a look around in the room, moving my eyes, moving my neck, and maybe even looking for objects that have my favorite color. So, and ultimately breathing is also a beautiful grounding exercise, conscious breathing. Ultimately, it's really up to you in understanding, okay, what are the things that actually ground me, and growing that toolbox of yours to ground yourself. So this is more like in the day-to-day. That's my suggestion there. Now, there are other techniques, like for instance, TRE, that then work with the scenario of a nervous system being stuck, or really just maintaining the health of a nervous system, the grounding of a nervous system. But I think that wasn't your question. So yeah.
Thank you. You know what? You were reading my mind because I just put a note there, TRE, because I wanted to ask before we jump into my next question. I just want to stop there a little bit and ask you to just maybe very high level explain to us, what is TRE and how does it look like? Now, I came to one of your workshops and I really enjoyed it. And it was one of those things where I didn't really know what to expect. All I knew was there was going to be shaking involved. I don't know how you call them.
Yeah, the
TRE.
neurotremor.
Yes. And so I want to just hear a little bit from you. What is TRE so that everyone can understand?
Yeah.
What does shaping have to do with it?
I have to laugh here because I gave a workshop yesterday, and literally, like, a person said, not just one person, many of the people there said just the same. I just didn't know what to expect. I had no idea what's going to happen, really, but I just thought I'll try it out. And that's mostly how people come in there, because it's something so new, especially here in Germany. So TRE basically is a technique that supports our body in reconnecting with its natural mechanism of releasing stress, built up tension, and trauma from the body. And that's our neurogenic tremor. That's that shaking that you were describing. And so these neurogenic tremors, those are vibrations in the body that support the nervous system in relaxing. And I'm pretty sure that all of us have in one moment or another experience where the body was shaky, be that, for instance, when we were speaking in public, we were holding a piece of paper and that paper was shaking, or our voice was shaky. That expression even exists, right? So or we had an accident and we noticed that we were like, so that is actually not a sign of stress. This is our innate mechanism to release stress from our body. So this is your nervous system taking care when you tremor. And basically, TRE is a series of exercises that were designed by an incredible man, Dr. David Berceli, in a way that these exercises warm up the body in a specific way that then when you lie down in a certain position, your body starts shaking, starts activating that mechanism to release stress in a safe environment without there being a threat. So because it's in that regulated and safe way, that is really how we can kind of like support our nervous system to switch off again. Because generally speaking, our society, we've unlearned how to switch off. We're constantly stuck either in the sympathetic or in the higher state of the nervous system. And we just don't know anymore how to come back to the ground. And this tremoring, this shaking really supports with that.
Yeah, and I love that because I think with animals, they have a natural way of releasing stress, right? And kids also, they would shake, they would scream, they would whatever, but as adults, we kind of forgot that. And I think it's important to stress, fun or no pun intended. It's important, to really learn ways and to implement it in our everyday life, because we will, our sympathetic nervous system will get activated. I think it's just the nature of the society that we're in. And it's about learning, how do I switch faster? How do I release when I do get activated?
Yeah, that's what they call resilience, right? It's that super buzzing word at the moment. That's really resilience. It's not about not being stressed. We are designed to be stressed. We are designed to experience our nervous system going up into all stages, yeah? but we're also designed to come back down. And that is what we've unlearned. We know very well how to go up. We don't know anymore how to come down. And that is, the quicker we come down, that is what you described as, that's that resilience, right? Like to just be quicker in catching that and coming back to the baseline.
Yeah. And another thing that you shared that I loved was a lot of times, and I think people will be able to connect with this, you know, when you were mentioning kind of, we feel nervous and then we're shaky, or we can't breathe, or, you know, our breath is shallow, our heart rate goes up. A lot of times I think, well, that was my experience, at least until I understood it more. I tried to push that away. I was looking at that as it was standing in my way. I just wanted to get rid of it. You know, I wanted to be confident, and I just wanted to, you know, I just wanted it to go away. And I think the big part of it is just understanding what it is really about. And I think this is what you and I both do in our coaching practice, which is not kind of getting familiar with these sensations and really understanding that they're here just to serve us. How was your view on that?
Can you ask that question again? What
is your view on that?
What's my view on that? Well, that was an easy question. I just didn't hear that. Yeah, I mean, yes to it all. I loved how you're describing, like, this is really what we're honing in our work, you know, using the somatics with that, because somatics are a very important piece to that. And there was one thing that you just mentioned, and I just lost it. But I found it so crucial what you said there.
That's okay. Just take a moment, and if not, we can just move forward. But I think it was just the main idea, I think, that I was sharing was how it's important.
Yeah, I have it. Yeah, the relationship to the tremor, right? Because the relationship to anything that we describe as something unsafe, right? So the relationship to the tremor, most of the time when we're tremoring, and I mean, I count myself into that, because in the past, whenever I witnessed someone speaking in public and they were shaking, I was like, ha, 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 that person is nervous, right? You smile a little bit, because in our society, we attach weakness to that. And in our society, we do not like to appear weak, right? We do not want to show our weakness, our vulnerability to the outside. And so tremoring is oftentimes attached to that tremoring is weakness. Also, I do believe that is because oftentimes we tremor when we build muscles, and when our muscles aren't strong enough, then they start tremoring, right? So I understand that relationship to the tremor exists most commonly, but it's completely not true. Like it's really not true. And I think that's what what we are doing with the work of a coach, right? We're supporting people in understanding that there are no such labels as weak or strong. It's just simply there. The tremor is simply there. It's just your body right now working for you. And I think that's the other aspect of that was kind of like inspired. Like our nervous system, our body is always working for us. Everything that happens within us, it happens for us. We might not understand the why and where it comes from, but our bodies always wants us to be in balance. So we'll try everything to bring us there. And sometimes it doesn't appear in the form that we like it. Yeah.
Yeah. And once we do, and I think this is what we get to experience a lot of times when the relationship with it changes. It's just so much easier to lean into it, and you know, sure, you may speak in front of a crowd and you're still nervous, but it's not overpowering, and you've kind of become friends with it.
Yeah.
It's much easier. It just makes the whole thing much easier.
I love that you use the word friend, because that's how I like describing it, because stress is my best friend by now. My nervous system is my best friend, because if I would see it as the enemy, which is what oftentimes we do, right? Stress is commonly seen as something negative, as the enemy. I don't want stress, right? I don't like stress. I don't want to be stressed, but I'm constantly stressed. So there's kind of like a love-hate relationship with stress, really. But yeah, reframing that into stress is actually my best friend because it's always taking care. We wouldn't be stressed if our nervous system didn't think that there was something, that we wouldn't be in danger, right? So if our nervous system didn't think that protection was needed, it doesn't get stressed. That's super easy. Stress is only there when we need protection, when one part within us needs protection. Yeah. And so when we work on that thing that needs protection and supporting that, that is when we then can also understand, hey, like stress has been really supportive here right now. I just needed to find a different way to support myself, to protect myself than the stress mechanism. Yeah.
So good. And just for a little bit of context with the TRE, and just for people to know that TRE, can you do them in person as well as online? The TRE workshops that you mentioned, because I know that you do quite regularly with your clients.
Yeah, I mean there are TRE workshops. I don't want to say everywhere because that's not true, but we are globally they are globally happening everywhere. You can I can share that later on. I think it's traumaprevention.com where you can find providers at any place. There are also online workshops. Me personally, I every once in a while I have an online workshop. I'm currently transitioning into offline, so in the place where I live in Germany, in Bochum, I give workshops here, but you can find them anywhere. If someone is interested, please reach out because I'm always happy to either connect people to a provider or have a conversation and see if online is possible. But you can do it online and offline. It's all possible.
Beautiful. Yes, it's important for people to understand what's available to them, and I think this is a beautiful resource to build that awareness, the self-awareness that you mentioned, and also to create these grounding practices alongside and just kind of pick up some tools along the way on how to regulate themselves.
Totally, yeah. It's totally important. Yeah. I wanted to add because it's something that you, if I may, and you can let me know. But at the beginning, you also mentioned, my story with confidence and self-doubt, because that was really my theme, or has been my theme. I was someone who doubted myself a lot, which is also why I had these stress symptoms, right? I was always continuously criticizing myself, believing that I was never good enough. And so it's all really linked. I guess that's kind of like what I want to say, like what our mind thinks about us. It's related to how we feel, it's related to how our body is and where our nervous system is at. So all of this is really connected. We're all just one organism. And self-doubt is one defense mechanism of our nervous system. So whenever someone is doubting themselves or criticizing themselves, that's a sign of the nervous system being in sympathetic, or even higher up. If it's I can't, that's even higher up. So it's just, for me, this is such an important message to bring to people, because when someone self-doubts, it doesn't mean anything about them. It's their nervous system speaking. And that you can support yourself with. You can learn how to ground your nervous system so that you can naturally find confidence again within.
Mm-hmm.
That was
I thought so. So good. So cool.
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. Yes, I get that. It's like taking that and not taking it personally, I think. That's what I'm hearing. It's just trying to protect me. It's not me. It's just trying to protect me. It's my mechanism, and let me have a look at what's there and then clear.
Yeah. And that applies to anything. It doesn't have to be only self-doubt, criticism. It can be blackouts. It can be, I don't know, laziness, or just hiding, being shy, if that is something that you don't feel at peace with. There's so many things that can be there. Anything that you have I don't like that about me, try putting it into the context of nervous system and see what happens then. If you understand this is actually my nervous system speaking to me right now, what would happen then?
Yeah, and this actually brings me to my next question, which I think is a little bit connected to this, and it's how does how does it impact our life if we're underregulated a lot of times?
Right.
What
Yeah.
does it have on our relationships, on the way that we go through life and the quality of our life?
Do you know what's funny is I think everybody can answer that question because most of us, we have a dysregulated nervous system or an unregulated nervous system. Because an unregulated nervous system means basically that it's stuck somewhere in a higher activation, be that in the fight flight or be that in the freeze. There is our nervous system is stuck. That's when it's not regulated and when we can't find our ground back, right? So it's kind of like bouncing always up and down, but it's never reaching the ground. And so you can see how that affects us as beings just from this understanding of we can only relax, we can only have deep sleep, we can only regenerate, we can only have proper digestion when we're grounded. Because when we are in fight flight, I mean, just think about it. If you have a lion in front of you, you don't want to digest. You're not worrying at all about digestion. You're just going to see how the heck you're going to make it out of there, right? So your body knows this, and because it knows it and it wants you to be ready to run away, it's going to send all the blood into other parts of the body, but definitely not digestion. Definitely, it's not going to make you fall asleep in that moment, You cannot fall asleep if you have a danger in front of you. It's not possible. Adrenaline is just too much. So when you see that, if we are dysregulated, we just never touch that part where we can properly heal, where we can have a deep sleep, where this is why many sleep issues, they're rooted in the nervous system and issues with the nervous system, or unregulated nervous systems. So that's just one thing. Or I mean, just think about it. How do you, like, for the people reading and listening, watching this right now, just think about how do you go in your day to day? Are you someone that goes from one thing to the next, from one stress to the next? Do you always have the feeling that you're running? Do you, that's all dysregulated nervous systems, and that can affect you. That can lead to burnout. That can lead to even more self-doubt, or that can lead to depression, even that you don't want to move at all anymore. It has huge impacts on us. It can lead to an understanding and identification with your self-doubt, with your blackouts, with the stress. It's like I am stressed. It's not stress is happening right now. I'm experiencing a wave of stress. I am that. And so for me, yeah, I mean, a dysregulated nervous system can have huge impacts, detrimental impacts. Yeah. Also in the emotional world, for sure, because we're never separate.
And you mentioned a lot of times it manifests in not being able to fall asleep, or like being having like weird sleep patterns. Is there a grounded, and I think a lot of people have experienced that in their lives for sure, me included, when your mind is just in overdrive, you can't fall asleep. Is there one exercise or something grounded that people can do maybe right before bed to calm their nervous systems down?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Right before they're going to sleep. It kind of depends where your nervous system is at and how you are, like what your preferences is, because sometimes, I mean, the classic thing like meditation, some people with an over aroused nervous system, they are not able to meditate because their thoughts are just driving and running around, so it's really hard. So what I like doing as a start is really, it's again that connection with the body, but that can look different ways. Maybe just taking a hot bath. I don't know if you've ever taken a hot bath and went to bed after. It's amazing. You're just so relaxed. That's also a way to ground. I love working with scents too, like lavender or so, because it just goes straight into the nervous system. There's no thinking about it. It just reaches that, it calms you down. And then of course, there are breathing exercises that you can do, like breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. That is a breath that commonly relaxes the nervous system, and repeating that a couple of times, or doing the pranayama yoga, different breathing techniques, box breathing, breathing into the count of 4, hold to the count of 4, out to the count of 4, hold to the count of 4, and repeating that. Those are all things that can work. It really depends on the person and the preference there, and what works with that specific nervous system. Me, for an instance, what I like doing before going to bed, what supports my nervous system, is I imagine kind of like a light shower from above. I just imagine that I'm filled with light, my entire body. And I do like mentioning the things that I'm grateful for, because gratitude happens only in the place of grounding. So when you know that, it's such a beautiful hack at the end of the day to just consciously think and feel what you've been grateful for that day, because your body cannot feel gratitude in activation so much.
Those are wonderful, and I'm definitely taking those tips with me, because I also tend to forget about the scent part. And one thing I also don't want, or one thing I do want to kind of shed a little bit of light on when it comes to the nervous system, and you mentioned it a few times today, is just the importance of being aware of the symptoms of our, or signals of our body. I think like that's the self-awareness bit that I don't want people to miss, which is your body will tell you where you are. So the only thing you have to do is just listen to because sometimes we get so wrapped up in our thinking that we're not really sensing the body. But I think if you just put some focus on your body and what it's telling you, that can tell you exactly where you are on that scale from 1 to 10 that you so I thought that was really, really good. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that because I think it's important.
Yeah, and you can do that in different ways, because sometimes for you and I, it comes so natural by now to just, okay, we can scan our body even right now as we talk, right? But for some people, it's uncommon. And so literally getting in connection with the body, stroking the body, touching the body, that is kind of like the first step in creating that somatic awareness, that awareness for the sensations that are happening. Yeah, and working with the senses in general is very grounding. Scent, that smell, obviously, taste, the touch. I'm losing words here right now. But working with all the senses is really great too.
So good. All right. So I love that. And last thing I want to talk about is, I know that you have a workshop coming up in a few next week around confidence and how that's tied in with the nervous system.
Yeah.
So what can you share with us specifically? And I know I feel like you've answered this throughout the interview anyways, but just to kind of maybe sum it up, how does the nervous system necessarily connect to how confident we feel?
Yeah, I'm so excited for that workshop. It's a German workshop, Strahle von Kopf bis Fuß von Selbstvertrauen, so radiate in confidence from head to toe, or embody your confidence from head to toe. And the connection there is, it's partially what I mentioned before. When we experience self-doubt, self-criticism, or anything like this is this is just a sign of our nervous system that is letting us know that a part of us doesn't feel protected right now. It doesn't feel safe. And so how do we build a confidence that is not just that, because I hear so many people talking, yeah, you have to be confident, right? And most of the people are sharing it from this ego mentality, right? And you can feel it. You can feel it when they talk. They think that they appear confident, but it's only in their words and it's not embodied in them. And so that workshop is really supporting to drop that confidence level down and really feel it from within. And we do that by working, by supporting our parts in feeling protection without needing to rely on self-doubt. Because self-doubt is just a protection. It's just protecting us from something in that moment that we don't want to experience, right? And so, yeah, giving what that self-doubt is looking for, but in a different way, that's what I'm going to teach in the workshop. And that is also how you can use the nervous system there, because again, self-doubt, it's a sign of your nervous system. And once you understand that, then you can take your own safety, your inner sense of safety, into your hands. Because oftentimes we make this mistake in outsourcing our sense of safety and in saying, oh, I will feel confident, I will feel safe once X happens, right? Once I have the job, once I have the money, once I have the relationship, then I will be confident. And that's just not true. You will be confident once you really embrace all the parts within you and you accept all the parts within you and you nourish them with what they need, but from within, not from the outside. And that's how the nervous system is connected to confidence. It's all about the nervous system.
Yeah. And it's like so beautiful when, you know, when we come in touch with someone who really doesn't have to say what they have or do in order to feel confident, but we can just feel their confidence just through their presence and just how they're embodying it without them having to, you know, have do or create anything. They just are, and it's beautiful to be in what's the word, presence presence of those people. And I think it's such an important skill to have, you know, because when you go for like a job interview, or you know, you go on dates, that's what we want, you know. We want that. We don't want to, we want the proper confidence, and so the other embodied confidence, and people can feel that, and they're going to want to be around us as well.
And what I find fascinating, I love the term embodied confidence. I think it's such a beautiful term to use for that. What I find so fascinating, that embodied confidence doesn't look like I'm never going to have self-doubt. I'm never going to. It doesn't look like that. Funnily enough, embodied confidence looks like I'm feeling nervous right now and I'm owning it. And I'm like, I'm here with you. You know, I'm right next side myself, next, like side by side to me. I hold my hand. That is what embodied confidence means. We all get insecure. If you ever think, because that's also the mind, right? Going into comparison. But if you ever think, oh my God, that person has it all together. They never feel doubtful. They never feel insecure. Nonsense. We are all human beings. We all feel these things. It's just embodied confidence embraces these things, owns these things as part of the human existence.
Totally. And I mean, I feel confident and still nervous, you know, in this conversation. And both can be true, you know, both can be true. And I think it's just that loving presence that we extend to everything that is, that just makes it so much easier.
Yeah. And isn't that so beautiful? I love that example even right now in this conversation, right? Because naturally our sympathetic will be more active because we're in action. You know, it doesn't only happen when there is like a physical threat in front of us. Our nervous system takes care of us so that we have the energy to perform, you know, and that happens when we are in a situation like this. Naturally, we're going to be more active.
Yeah, so good. So good. Okay. All right, so for those who are interested and want to join Madlena's workshop, or if you have friends who live in Bochum or around Bochum, who knows, you can join her workshop, Radiate from toe to head, I think, in confidence, but it's going to be in German, on the 27th October 2022. In case, you know, anyone would think it's next year.
In case you forgot the year. Yeah. And feel free to join so that one is you can just join. There's actually no cost related to that one. And if you wanted to join a TRE workshop, those happen Mondays, every Monday. So if anybody's listening who wants to join, please come. I would be so honored. If there are questions, I think I can somehow bring my email, marlene.zehnter.tensionrelease@gmail.com. Yeah, just feel free. I love being in connection. I love reading messages. I will always get back.
So good. So people can find you under your email, which you just shared, Madlena. Say, you know, I have pronouncing your last name, honestly. Zehnter.
Correct.
Madlena.zehnter. Oh, sorry. Madlena dot switching between different. Madlena.zehnter.tensionrelease@gmail.com. So I'll share this somewhere, and then you can also find her on Instagram and Facebook. I mean, what can I say? This was such a pleasure. I've learned so much from you. I was looking forward to this conversation because I know that you have so much wisdom around the nervous system and such a beautiful way of seeing things. Yeah, thank you for your presence, for sharing your knowledge, for helping people.
Thanks, and for being so beautifully. So grateful.
All right, that's it. I will see you next time, everyone, in our next month's guest interview. And for now, bye-bye.
Bye.